Hi, very good afternoon. It's Jim from Avstar. I'm going to do this video in reverse, starting with, there's a link down there, and if you want me to start bringing back the magnetic North Pole positioning twice a week, then if people start to use that PayPal link a little bit more, we'll bring it back. Simple as that. Or you can join us on Patreon if it means anything to you. And I'm going to put a disclaimer right now on this video. It's not about frightening you. It's just about bringing your awareness to what you are facing. And to start with, we're looking at this chart, which is pretty much directed at the CO2. But it's not CO2 we need to concern ourselves with. It's the 100,000 year anomaly, the returning back to a glacial period. And if you've got any common sense, even a child would work it out what happens next. Look at the pattern. Look at where we are on the right hand side where the zero is. Take a look up to the red line that goes up and down, and look at the reoccurring 100,000 year Milankovitch cycle. We're returning back into a glacial period. And right now, you must have an instinct that something isn't quite right. And you spot on, because something isn't right. If you look at this chart, it tells us everything we need to know. This chart is just one of many that goes back millions of years. The Milankovitch cycle keeps reoccurring every 100,000 years. And we have something for around 12 to 15,000 years called an interglacial, a warm period. That's something we've enjoyed for the last 12,000 years, which is about to come to an end. And I know other scientists, other organisations are going to say we are thousands of years away from this happening, and we're not. This is going to happen, and this thing alone will send us back into the days of sticks and stones. Mark my words on that. I'm going to show you some things in this video that are probably going to make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, because I want you to start walking around with your eyes open so you know what is coming. And I haven't got nothing to sell you in terms of prepping. I don't have a bug out bag already set up for you which you can purchase. This is something you have to do for yourself, your family and your loved ones, if you are serious about staying in the game as long as you can, because what we're dealing with right now is musical chairs. Every time that music stops, those 5 people walking round, there will be a chair removed, leaving only 4 spaces for 4 bums to sit on. It's entirely up to you whether you want to secure one of those chairs for you to sit on, because the music is about to start and the chair will be removed again, leaving just 3. That's what you're up against. I'm going to share a couple of anomalies with you in this video that are really taking place, that the world governments are failing to address, and what will be the repercussions of this in its worst case scenario. So if we return back into a glacial period tomorrow and ice starts building up all over the northern hemispheres, power cables, what do you think is going to happen to those? Well, they're going to break, aren't they? And if they can't get out to repair them because the conditions aren't favourable, that means it's a prolonged period without electricity. It's called a grid down scenario, and I think a lot of you are already familiar with a grid down situation. Because if electricity isn't going into a city or into the factories that supply the city, then things break down very quickly. And you can have a look at these videos that have been, these documentaries that have been put out about just a grid down scenario. You can have a look online, look up grid down in the UK. There's a documentary been done. Within 2 weeks, they beat the guy up who had got a generator and nobody else had. They took all his food supplies off him and left him with a bust up face and nothing. So if you're preparing for such events, I suggest you keep it close to those you can trust. And I will say this, even in those times, you will not be able to trust the people you think you can trust. So better keep it shush Keep it to yourself. Okay, so that's just one scenario. What about the majority of the northern hemisphere being covered in ice? Where's all the food going to come from? How are they going to feed the numbers of people that are on this planet right now? Because we are busting with about 8 billion people in this world. It's the biggest number of human beings recorded in history right now, and we are struggling with the climate change to keep up with the food production, because food production is shrinking, you know that. And they're already people like Bill Gates, you know, and others like him gearing up to feed you fly larvae and, you know, corn, you know, artificial foods, printed steaks and burgers. It's coming, something's happening. You know, they're not buying up all the land that they can get their hands on for no reason. They're doing it for a purpose. You've just got to follow the trails of these people, these multimillionaires, to work out what is going on. And you will come to the conclusion that something really is happening. Then you've got to look at some of the realities of these anomalies that we look at here on this channel and think, maybe, just maybe, Gene's right. I haven't spent a majority of the time of my life on one subject, the magnetic North Pole, for no reason. Because I know over this time, and I have learned the implications it throws humanity. And it's not something that we can get over very easily. So let's begin then, of not just talking about this one scenario, let's talk about the main scenario, the magnetic pole reversal. Let's have a talk about that. So let's look at the worst case scenario for our planet, and let's compare it with its neighbouring planet, Mars. All these photos are of Mars, and you know, come on, let's face it, we've all seen scenery like this on Earth in deserts and desert surroundings, so it's not too dissimilar. The only thing is that Mars, over 1 million years ago, had a magnetosphere just like Earth, and its terrain didn't look like this always. There was an atmosphere and there was water on its surface. It lost its magnetosphere when the core solidified and the volcanic activity stopped. And then it was subject to a term called sputtering, which is a stripping off of its ionosphere, you know, the upper atmosphere. Once it stripped that off, it left the water on its surface subject to evaporation. And that's why it looks like it does today. That's how important a magnetosphere is to a planet. Because there are two things that keep us alive on this planet. And thankfully at this moment, one of those is in abundance, and that's water. And the second, that maintains life and protects life across all biodiversities. And we're talking trees, shrubs, plants, and even biological organisms, right up to the top of the food chain, human beings, keeps us all protected from the harmful cosmic rays and radiation from the sun. Without it, our planet looks just like what you're looking at right now on your screen. A barrenous desert. No life. So that's the worst case scenario. And why do I talk about that? Because, you know, the last time our Earth went through a completed magnetic reversal was 780,000 years ago. Before that, on average, every 300 to 350,000 years it would go through a magnetic reversal. And something changed about that pattern that has left us with a 500,000 years overdue a magnetic reversal. a completed one. Yes, we've had excursions. The last one was 12,000 years ago. That is still a big number. No recorded records of what happened during that time. Maybe, the magnetosphere wasn't collapsed for so long that it still enabled life to continue on the planet it has to this day. But that don't mean we've got reassurance of the next magnetic reversal even starting back up, because even professors in California right now are saying that the Earth's core is coming to a halt. And we want to hope and pray that that magnetic reversal isn't the last, and that the magnetosphere doesn't shut down, because as human beings we cannot restart it. We just simply haven't developed that level of technology yet where we can manipulate the interior of planets' abilities to produce the magneto, which in turn produces the magnetosphere and our dipoles that we're accustomed to having. So you live in right now in a very, very unpredictable and unique time. Scientists like myself thrive at such a dilemma, even though the consequences could be the most bleak. It could be the end of all biodiversity on this planet, or almost all. We're talking what may survive, maybe zooplankton or chemoautotrophs that live on the very depths of the bottom of our oceans around smokers, which are volcanic vents that are erupting, and the temperature and the chemical production of those are what keep those chemoautotrophs alive. We're talking bacteria, basically, which we may find on one of Saturn's moons or on Titan, deep beneath the frozen ice or the frozen water. We might find such microorganisms thriving, but what we won't find within our solar system is human beings like ourselves, or very intelligent life forms. There are other avenues that we haven't even delved into, and we could continue talking about how it affects the climate. I suppose we might just cover that briefly right now. How might it affect the climate? Well, it already is. Your polar jet streams and your subtropical jet streams are definitely being affected by inbound cosmic rays as a result of a 20 to 25% reduction in the magnetosphere right now. Cancer rates are starting to increase, and even the public media, mainstream media, are reporting on it. Yesterday, 28,000 cases in the UK alone of melanoma cancer, and a notable increase in that melanoma cancer rate. What is it that's causing it? Well, we do have a 20 to 25% reduction in the magnetosphere, leaving us with 75% protection on our planet. Which means if you go out in the sun, you're 25% more likely to get a skin disorder. Let's say that for the least. Could be at the worst end of the spectrum. You could be, subjecting yourself to melanoma cancers as well as other skin cancers and other forms of cancer. Let's face it, when the deoxyribonucleic acid within the cell membrane gets damaged, then any cell is susceptible to a cancer of some sorts. It's just the unlucky strike that snaps that chain of deoxyribonucleic acid. That's it, your DNA, basically. Also, as we are 25% less of a full protective field against, harmful cosmic radiation and what we're accustomed to, we are also looking at, if we do have, a reasonable X-class CME, coronal mass ejection, off the sun, and it arrives at the Earth's surface, we stand a chance of knocking out most of the tech that we've got right now, which will lead to a grid down situation again. Have you got 6 months worth of food? Do you have provisions to purify water? Do you have the means to protect yourself? Some of these things you might want to think about, and we offer none of these for you. We don't have a bug out bag, we don't have food supplies for you, we don't have none of that. Our business is the business in reporting what is actually going on, and we have developed ourselves here into an observatory that records what is going on every 3 seconds. Every 15 minutes the magnetometer takes another reading, and we monitor that as well. At any point in time we can look at the muon detector and to see if there is a sporadic increase in muons, but there are already regions of our Earth where these numbers would be going through the roof. We're talking about Brazil, Chile, those regions where the South Atlantic anomaly, the hole in our magnetosphere, is opening up already, splitting across the Atlantic Ocean into 2 pieces, one covering Africa, South Africa, the other covering the South Americas. We haven't even reached equilibrium yet. We've not even got halfway through this issue. And this video is not to frighten you at all, just to bring your awareness and make sure that your head's not in the sand and that you are paying attention. Because this is going to affect you if it hasn't already. It's going to affect your family and your loved ones. You know what? We really are keeping our fingers crossed here at this observatory, because we know what the world is facing. It couldn't be any worse. We are in the midst of a grand solar minimum. For the last 3 solar cycles we've seen a pattern of decaying sun activity. We're on the doorstep of a glacial period, and we are in the midst already of an Earth, a planet just like Mars, going through a magnetic reversal that is 500,000 years overdue. So it's a very serious matter at hand, and any one of these can jump up at any minute and bite our ass. I'm not joking. There are many more implications tied to the magnetic reversal than you can imagine. And over the coming days, we're going to talk and discuss about those. So I'm going to mention the link down there in the description. It's up to you. It's not mandatory at all. It's entirely up to you. If you want to stay in the know during this period of time, what we're going through on these subjects that we talk about, start supporting us. I'm going to say what I usually do. You take care of your loved ones. As always, bye for now.